He gave the order to cut it down in under a minute. He didn't know he was signing his own death certificate. By morning, the man who never believed in ghosts would be the reason the whole town started believing again.
The SpiritVox, it's alive.
Walter Grimes had been a county road engineer for 11 years, and in 11 years he had never once let sentiment get in the way of a deadline. He was in Hollow Creek, a small town tucked into the Appalachian Ridgeline, to finish what the state had been promising for 2 decades, a bypass road that would finally connect the town to the interstate. The survey stakes were already in the ground. The blueprints were already stamped. There was only one problem left standing in the way of Walter's schedule, and it was standing about 40 feet tall, directly in the center of the planned route. It was an old white oak. Locals called it the Miller Oak, after the family whose farm had once surrounded it, though the Millers had been gone for 3 generations. Its trunk was wider than a car. Its roots ran so deep that when the survey crew tried to dig test pits nearby, their shovels kept hitting wood that shouldn't have been there. Earl Tanner, the oldest man on the road crew, asked Walter if there was any way at all, to shift the road 20 feet to the east and leave the tree alone. Walter laughed before Earl even finished the sentence.
20 feet doesn't sound like much, until you tell the state it's going to cost them another $80,000 and 6 extra weeks. I didn't come out here to save a tree, Earl.
Earl didn't argue right away. He just looked at the oak for a long moment, the way a man looks at an old friend he knows he's about to lose. That evening, Earl found Walter at the motel bar just outside town and tried one more time. This time, he wasn't asking about money.
There's something you should know about that tree.
Turning his glass slowly on the counter.
My grandmother used to tell us kids to never sleep without windows open when the wind came down off that ridge. She said something got locked inside that oak a long, long time ago.
Walter raised an eyebrow, more amused than curious.
Locked inside a tree. Go on.
Earl explained it the way it had been told to him, the way it had probably been told for over 100 years. Back before the town had a name that showed up on any map, something had come down from the ridge and started taking people. Livestock first, then children. A traveling preacher, some said a root doctor, came through and did what nobody else could. She bound the thing into the oldest, strongest tree on the mountain, using words nobody living remembered anymore.
As long as that tree stands, it stays sleeping. Cut it down, and whatever's in there wakes up hungry.
Walter finished his drink and set the glass down harder than he needed to.
Earl, I respect you. I do. But I've got a road to finish, and I am not going to explain to my supervisor that we're behind schedule because of a campfire story.
The crew arrived at first light. Walter stood at the edge of the clearing with his coffee, watching the chainsaw crew set their ladders and ropes against the old oak's trunk. A small crowd had gathered at the tree line, not to protest, not anymore, just to watch. Some of them were the same age as Earl. A few were older, none. Some of them said a word. The first cut into the bark sounded wrong, not like wood splitting, more like something exhaling. One of the younger crew members stopped and looked at Walter, unsure whether to keep going. Walter just nodded for them to continue. It took almost 2 hours. When the great oak finally groaned and came down, it hit the ground hard enough that Walter felt it through his boots. A cloud of dust and old leaves rolled out across the clearing. For 1 second, just one, the wind stopped completely. No birds, no insects, nothing. Then it was over, and the road crew was already measuring the stump for removal, and Walter told himself the silence had only been in his head. The county had set Walter up in a small caretaker's cottage at the edge of town, the closest thing to a rental Hollow Creek had to offer. He liked it well. Enough. From the east-facing window of the bedroom, he could see the tree line climbing up toward the ridge, and at night the whole valley went so quiet he could hear his own heartbeat. That night, after the tree came down, he told himself he was only tired. He fell asleep almost as soon as he lay down. Sometime after midnight, he woke to the feeling that someone was standing at the window. He sat up fast, heart pounding, eyes locked on the dark glass. Nothing there, just the tree line, and beyond it, the black shape of the ridge against a slightly less black sky. He told himself it was nothing and lay back down. A few minutes later, he couldn't have said exactly how long, he felt the mattress shift. Something had climbed in through the window. Something was now lying in the bed beside him. He was facing away. He couldn't make himself turn around. The room's temperature dropped so fast his breath started fogging in front of his face, and the air moving against the back of his neck didn't feel like a draft anymore. It felt like breathing. Slow, patient, not his own. Walter tried to scream for help. Nothing came out. His throat worked, but no sound would leave it, as if something had already taken his voice before it took anything else. He reached for his phone on the nightstand. His arm wouldn't move. Every muscle in his body had locked in place, frozen the way a man freezes in a nightmare he can't wake up from. Then he felt it. Thin, dry shapes, like roots, like fingers, like something in between, wrapping around his wrists first, then his ankles, then working slowly up his arms. They tightened the way a snake tightens around something it intends to keep. Not fast, not rushed, like it had all the time in the world because it had just spent 100 years waiting for exactly this moment. The pressure kept building. It reached his chest, then his throat, until it felt like his skull itself was being squeezed from every direction at once. And then there was nothing at all. The knocking started around 9 the next morning and didn't stop for almost an hour. Walter never answered. Eventually, 2 of the road crew broke the cottage door open. They found him in bed, on his back, eyes open, completely still. There wasn't a single mark on him, no sign of a struggle, no sign that anyone or anything had been in that room at all. The town doctor filled out the paperwork within the hour. Cause of death, sudden cardiac arrest, sometime in the night. A tragedy, everyone agreed. A young man, gone too soon, in a house with locked doors and no forced entry. But the older folks in Hollow Creek, the ones who remembered Earl's grandmother, and her grandmother before that, they didn't need a doctor to tell them what happened. Something had slept inside that oak for over 100 years, and on the first night it was finally free. It wanted to make sure everyone understood exactly what had been protecting them all along.